Welcome back to the Power 2 here on College Football Addiction. It's a nighttime recording. Is this the first time we've gone at night? Have we done this one? I think we did it one other time.
Night game, baby. Let's do it.
Night recording. I tuned in last night to Cole's night show, so that was fun. Just happened to come across the feed. Actually, I saw it on Twitter, and then I went to YouTube so that I could comment. So if you're seeing this on Twitter, go do the thing that I did. Go over to YouTube so we can read your comments. We certainly would appreciate that. I'll be in Charlotte tomorrow, boys, for ACC kickoff, Florida State's portion, and then I might stick around for another team or two. I won't be there all day. And I won't be there for Friday with Dabo and Bill Belichick. So that'll be a fun one.
You didn't want to stay for Ed, and Eddie's guy coming on in?
Dude, was that? Well, that was today. But was that not hilarious? Yeah, Carson Beck looked a little funny in that tweet that I just shared on Twitter.
In every tweet that you see him in. Let's just be real.
He's not the most attractive. Yeah, I don't know if the one chick, the Miami chick was with him for the looks.
In the great words of Little Nicky, he's no George Clooney. That's for dang sure.
But ACC kickoff tomorrow, so we're going a little early. I appreciate you guys for being flexible with this. Hopefully we'll get back into I feel like the last couple of weeks I made you guys have changed times, but hopefully we'll get back into a pretty regular routine going Wednesdays at noon. So tune in with us if you would be so kind and you want to just, have your employer pay. Just argue about football. It's a win-win for everybody. I think we've got a quick show tonight. We say that and then always go an hour, but how's you guys' weeks been so far? We'll do more of an intro. Last week we just got into it.
I'm coming off of TNA Slammiversary this past Sunday. For those of you that are wrestling fans, you can back on demand on TNA Plus if you get yourself a certain tier. So you can check that out at watch.tnawrestling.com. Second largest event in company history, largest event in North America, that is, for the company. So hell of a night, a lot of ups and downs. AJ Styles coming back to the company. That was fantastic. So I'm off to Kingston, Rhode Island tomorrow for more Impact Live tomorrow. So it's been a busy week already, gearing up for Penn State football training camp, which starts a week from tomorrow. Penn State is at Big Ten Media Days tomorrow. So lots to dive into, man. It's just one of those busy times. And once we hit September, it's just going to be breakneck for 3 months.
I have no idea what time it is, no idea what day it is. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing after I get off this show because I just have so much going on. But you know what? Busy's good because busy means that we have the NFL, we have college football, we have MLB, we have everything covered for my line of work, which is always the positive because that means I'm going to start getting paid a little bit more. And I'm always appreciative of more money coming in my pocket.
Dude, we are close, man. 32 days. Obviously, a lot of people watching this Tuesday night, but we're 2 days away from being a month kickoff, right? So I know that, tomorrow is a month from kickoff because July has 31 days. Tomorrow is 1 month from Farmageddon across the pond, which I could not be more excited for. And you always say I'm excited for the week 0 games. I'm not just going to watch that one. I'm going to watch the other games too, because it's just such a long break without it. I do like that game happens so early.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a noon kickoff, 10 o'clock Eastern. I don't know. I was in Dublin. But when we were there last year, I wasn't thinking about what time was Eastern, but it had to be early because it wasn't a night game out there. So I do like how early that game happens. An excuse to ignore all my responsibilities of that weekend and just watch football. So anyway, I lost Tom. We lost. Dude,
is that okay? I've been wondering what's been going on with the Wi-Fi. I didn't know if it was my end or if it was his end because I'm in a studio and sometimes where our studios are, the Wi-Fi can be a little shoddy. It's oh, hi Tom, welcome back. It was your Wi-Fi was the one that was acting up. It's 11 a.m. first kickoff. So
11 a.m. for us or for you? 11 a.m. Eastern.
So no, it's
noon our time. So it'd be fun. Yeah, get your day started in a month and a day, 32 days from kickoff. We were firing some shots at you, Tom, before you got back. But speaking of shots fired, the Big Ten and ACC coaches, actually, your Mark fired. We didn't talk about this, but a couple of weeks ago, your Mark fired a pretty thinly veiled shot too. That wasn't as direct, but he fired a shot at the SEC's way. Cole, you can have the floor on this one first, but Cignetti talking about he canceled the I will say, I think most of this stuff is said in jest, not to take over Cole's point. I think most of this stuff is said in somewhat of a playful manner and out over the internet. Lashley's wasn't said in a playful manner. Lashley talking about how, the SEC is just very top heavy. It's not that good of a conference. In theory, he's maybe right, but they still have the best, or the largest number of good teams, even if you think he is right. But people firing shots at the SEC this week, Cole, not afraid to try and maybe combat some of the narrative of how great the SEC is. What are your thoughts?
Full story, bro. Continue to go ahead and talk down on the SEC because if you want to talk up on your conference. Listen, I have no problem with what Kirk Cignetti said because if he's somewhat right when it comes to the non-conference game, and I understand, you also play a game you play that extra conference game. So naturally hang on fast. Oh boy, I knew that one was coming eventually. You play that extra conference game that is always going to benefit you because if we say the 8 versus 9. Here's the problem that I have with it. I want you to actually go look at Indiana's schedule, especially when you look at it last season, and go through every single game in terms of strength of record, strength of schedule, and strength of opponent. Add all those. There was a reason why people were complaining about an 11-1 Indiana team making the college football playoff over several teams in the SEC. The problem is that when you look at the ACC and the Big Ten, they'll always have 3 to 4 teams that are very, very good. They're elite. I look at the Big Ten this year. I can guarantee you that Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon will be in the college football playoff, and they all have a shot at winning a national title. The problem is that you got to get to that 4th team. Who is that 4th team? Is it going to be Illinois? Is it Washington? USC? Will it be Indiana once again? Are they actually going to go through a gauntlet of games that signals they have a turning tide? And then the teams afterwards, yeah, you have a bunch of 8-4 teams. Yeah, you have a bunch of teams that are playing up to a certain level of competition. But you're also watching as these are underwhelming performances. You turn on a mid-level game in the SEC on a Saturday afternoon, South Carolina versus Missouri, you're going to have some fireworks and you're going to have two teams on any given Saturday beat up on each other and punch their way to a double-digit win season. You don't have that in the Big Ten. You have your 4 teams that are very top-heavy, and they're very good, and they're very talented at winning a national title, but then you go to the SEC, and you got 8 or 9 teams that are all competitive. They all could get to 9-3. They all could cannibalize each other en route to going toward the college football playoff, and that's the difference between these two conferences, which is why the SEC right now doesn't have that 9th game. Because I can and say, what's the reward of playing a 9th conference game? You cannibalize each other and then only get 2 teams in the playoff because if you're all 9-3 at the end of the day and you're not actually 10-2 where you should be in the playoff. So it's a negative in that standpoint, which I understand from Cignetti's standpoint. When it comes to the ACC, we're at number 1. Let me just remind you, you are entering year 2 as a member of the ACC. It's not like you have been a legacy team out in the conference for over 3 decades that had your opportunity to punch your ticket to the playoff. No, you had 1 year in the conference. And last season, when you played against a ranked team, you lost to a ranked team. That's an annual Saturday down in the Southeastern region. Sorry, you may not like it. You may think that it's a little bit bullish that we see the same 6 teams playing for a conference title, but it's a normal Saturday to watch as these teams play against each other and they cannibalize each other. The other thing is that when you have these top-heavy teams and you're talking about diversity, you also fail to mention, hey, this South Carolina team went 9-3 last year. That's a change. Ole Miss has turned the tides. Every few years, they get to double-digit wins underneath Lane Kiffin. What about Eli Drinkowitz and what he's doing out in Columbia, Missouri at this point? Back-to-back 10-plus win seasons? Like, that is unheralded for a team that we can constantly being in the SEC. Meanwhile, you'll have a year where Miami goes 7-5, and then they go 11-2, and then they go 7-5, and then they go 8-4, and then they go 3-9, and then they go 10-2. And that's supposed to be diverse because of, oh, we consider this diverse. No, it's because it's inconsistent. It's not sustainable. Look at SMU last year. They went 11-1 in the regular season. Watch them go 8-4 this year. Then the next year they'll go 7-5. Then they'll pay a lot of money and they'll get the NIL funds. They'll punch their ticket to the college football playoff at 12-0, and then they'll go right back to being 8-4. That's not supposed to be the norm. You're supposed to have sustainable success, and you don't see that in the ACC. You see teams that have the 1 in a dozen years. It's awesome. They look the part. They fantastically put on a year that we will never forget, and then they go back to being an average roster. And that's the difference between these two. I got no problem with you taking shots at the SEC. I got no problem with you saying that the SEC needs to start playing 9 conference games. I have no problem with Kirk Cignetti saying that, hey, just follow the SEC mantra. It's going to be an easier pathway for you. Yeah, you're right. It is. But the reason why it's going to be an easier pathway for you, Kirk Cignetti, is because of your schedule feature 6 ranked teams back to back to back to back to back like Oklahoma. I promise you, Oklahoma and Florida this year are going to finish 8-4. They're going to be better than a couple of 10-2 teams in both the Big 12 and the Big 10.
On Indiana's schedule, just very quickly before I give this to Tom, listen, I like Cignetti, and Indiana was a fun story last year that I think we all knew was going to go to the playoff and probably not have a great shot to win. Out of conference this year, Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. They do play the 9 conference games. They do have Illinois, Oregon, and Penn State on their schedule this year. Certainly not easy in conference. I still don't know that if I'd put that up against, like you said, Florida or Oklahoma's schedule. What I do like about this, and I think you have to be careful because you can quickly make yourself look stupid. And I don't know. I mean, based on where you stand on this, maybe some fans will think that they look stupid saying this. But I think I have no problem with this because you have to push back on some of the narrative, whether the SEC is right or not, of, man, we just get screwed because our strength of schedule is so strong that everybody else should just be disrespected and our strength of schedule should just be above everybody else. I will push back on that too, because I think the SEC does get a lot of benefit of the doubt for their strength of schedule. Screwed them one time with Alabama and SMU. And I really think that had to do more with SMU not being penalized for being in a conference championship game. But I think the SEC does benefit a ton from strength of schedule. There were two-loss SEC teams that ahead of a 1-loss Indiana. There was a 3-loss SEC team ahead of a 2-loss Miami. When you look at Alabama, would have been the first team in instead of Miami at third. And then you look at the year before, Alabama's strength of schedule helped them when it came to Florida State. So I think most of the time the SEC's strength of schedule does benefit them very heavily. And this narrative of, we'll just stop playing tough games because if you're not going to respect our strength of schedule, we're out. I think the SEC's strength of schedule is respected, and the whole SMU Alabama thing just came down to not punishing a team that went to their conference championship. And so what I like about Cignetti and Lashley and anybody else who fires a shot is it is pushing back on some of that narrative that I think we can't get to a point where strength of schedule is the end all be all. And that's what I like about it. Now, were they effective in their methods? Was Cignetti probably half joking anyway? Yes, I would think so. Does Lashley have a point? The SEC is very top heavy. Yes, but they're still the best top heavy, so I think you could argue effectiveness as far as they're going after the SEC. I think they're just doing what's best for their conference and trying to push back on some of the woe is me because our strength of schedule isn't considered. I think the SEC strength of schedule is very considered when you look at basically every playoff ranking that's ever happened, minus the Alabama SMU one caveat that everybody's kind of focused on.
But also, what do you want me to say? Okay, I'm supposed to be this SEC standish and the SEC, we're burying you and everything. I'm not going to do that because let's just be real. You got to do what's best for your conference. No problem with Greg Sankey saying, I don't care what the ACC is doing. I don't care what Tony Petitti says about me. If it has nothing to do with the SEC, not my problem, bro. And it never is going to be my problem. So I can't sit here and be two-faced and on one hand say, SEC got to stand on business, but everyone else, go yourself. We don't need you to go ahead and be here. So it's I'm not going to be pissed off about that. What I am going to say is, don't be upset that every year the SEC has more ranked teams because of the addendums that go with it, like recruiting numbers, transfer portal production, your matchups against certain opponents, how well you perform, the average number of points per victory, the average margin of victory. Don't be pissy because of you have a 19-14 game between Minnesota and Nebraska, and it's down to the wire of, hey, we have 6 turnovers in this matchup, and we rushed for 450 total yards on the ground combined. I'm sorry, that doesn't sell me as a top 25 team when I see that consistently in the SEC. That's the only thing I'll say. But you got to do what's best to protect your conference.
Tom, you might be on mute.
Did we lose Tom?
No, I think we got him. He's just I don't hear his mic.
Did we lose? Dang it, we lost Tom.
Yeah, maybe it's not plugged in or a wrong setting. I'll talk a little bit until you jump in, and then I'll just shut up. But yeah, I've got no problem with the SEC pushing that narrative either. Like the idea of like trying to do what's best for you. Like people hate Greg Sankey. It's the weirdest thing to me that people they get upset when Greg Sankey like goes out and, I mean, he's just doing what's best for his conference. Like if any Utah fan was in the SEC, they would love Greg Sankey. Like you just hate him because he's not your guy.
Yeah.
Like he's not doing anything that's inherently immoral or wrong. He's just trying to push his product more. I got no problem with that. Right. Do I think he's right about everything?
There we go.
Tom's back. But yeah, I don't have any problems with that. I mean, I certainly have thoughts on the ACC's commissioner, but I think most of these guys are just doing what they think is best for their programs and their conference, right? And Lashley, Cignetti, Sankey, they're all in that boat. Tom?
What I think happened with Cignetti especially is I think the SEC kind of caught a stray in this one, in that he was deflecting, and anytime Curt Cignetti is in front of a microphone, boy, is he bad and bold. I want to harken back to comments made by James Franklin circa 2018, talking about Penn State after a loss to Ohio State. He said, we've been a good program, we can be a great program, but we're not an elite program. Last year, Indiana had a great season. I think that's justifiable when you go 11-1, the competition, all that sort of stuff. 11-1 is a great outcome. You made the college football playoff. That's great. It has yet to be proven if Indiana is a good program. Historically, they've been an average to below average to bad program. When you get to the point that you are consistently a great or elite program, then yes, you can schedule, no disrespect, cupcakes in your non-con. Penn State has cupcakes right out the chute. Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. No disrespect, but we just talked about it. Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, lighter non-con schedule for the most part, and out of the Ohio State-Texas game, I'll acknowledge that. But for the most part, when these teams schedule non-con, they take it pretty easy. They've earned that spot because they have the talent consistently year over year that we're assuming they're all going to make the college football playoff. No one's assuming Indiana's going to make the college football playoff. There's the distinct possibility that they could do it. So, yeah, it looked pretty weak when they canceled non-conference opponents that were actually cool and incredible conferences within FBS. So I think more than anything, this is Cignetti continuing to talk a big game. I really don't see why he brought the SEC into this, because it just brought more haters to his doorstep. But that's kind of his MO. For me, Indiana, the is still out. If you want to continue to do this non-con thing, it's going to bite you at some point, because you're going to have an incredible in-conference record every single year. You haven't proven the ability to do that year over year. I understand there's huge investment into Cignetti and into the college football program for Indiana football, that is. But like, you haven't proven it yet. And you kind of have to do that over, I don't know, Cole, what do you think? 5 years consecutively, to the point where we all are like, yeah, this is a great or good program at the very least.
But like, also the other thing is that let's say that there are two teams that are gunning for a spot in the college football playoff. That non-conference schedule may benefit you even if you lose. Like, let's say again, a team like Oklahoma this year. Oklahoma faces off against Michigan in week 2. And Michigan in week 2 may end up being a sleeper game. It may end up being the moment where we all see this version of Bryce Underwood come through and live up to the hype of, hey, I'm everything as advertised. He may end up being the next great quarterback in the Big Ten. But Oklahoma loses that game, and then they go on a run. And then we're having a conversation of, okay, well, Indiana played nobody in conference play and has the same record as Oklahoma, who had a loss in a close call against a Michigan team that is now in the college football playoff. You know who we're going to reward? We're going to reward the team that decided to schedule the opponent that may have ended up being a bit more challenging than those who just found their way to get to 10-2 and still crap the bed. Because also keep in mind, Indiana might have losses to Ohio State. They'll have losses to Oregon. They'll have losses to Illinois potentially. And that signature win. Meanwhile, Michigan is a loss to Oklahoma. But if you're 10-2, maybe your other losses to Alabama, but you beat South Carolina, that went 9-3. You beat Missouri, that went 9-3. You beat Texas in the Red River Shootout, and they're in the college football playoff and playing in Atlanta. So there's a reason that non-conference schedule does matter. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go about it where do whatever's best for your team to get to the postseason, but it gives you less margin of error to be able to draw a game and then say, oh, well, you know what? We're in a big conference too. No, you're in a big conference that decided to schedule no names outside of your matchup, and you didn't meet the expectations in your own conference.
The funniest thing to me about canceling the Virginia series is Virginia has sucked for a long time.
You should win that game if you're any good.
Yes, 5-5, 6-6, 3-7, 3-9. 2019 was the last time they had a winning record. They didn't cancel a series with Bama or Clemson. Cole was talking about the ACC. I meant to bring this up. The ACC basically just, the ACC being one good. Well, the one exception to that is Clemson. This wasn't Clemson that you took off the schedule. You took a bad team schedule, right? So that's the weirdest thing is you could have gotten an out, but you still would have gotten credit for playing a Power 4 team. Maybe not a good Power 4 team, but that was the weirdest part to me is you took off a bad team. If you're scared, don't be scared of the. Yeah, I said something the other day that somebody yelled at me for, but just, not a good program. So anyway.
But they're not a good program. Like, that's the other thing that's, like, really infuriating. Like, USC versus Ole Miss a few years ago. We made fun of USC for canceling that game because initially we thought, okay, or let me rephrase that. Both USC and Ole Miss mutually agreed to cancel that game. So I'll make sure that I say that properly. That way it doesn't come off as USC being a scared little bee and stuff. But still, what I'm trying to get at is, like, you're scheduling, like, these are games that you can respect a little bit because of they're at least going to be promising matchups. Who's going to be the head coach at Virginia by the time that we see Kirk Cignetti play in Charlottesville? Who's going to be the starting quarterback? And if you really are as advertised, shouldn't you be able to win by double digits? Also, how big of a narrative would it be that the Big Ten is struggling if an ACC middle tier is beaten in a Big Ten team just in general? Like, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, we say that all the time when it's the SEC. Shouldn't we also say that about the Big Ten too?
I think Tom might be muted again. We're working through. I think anytime you come back in, it might mute you.
I don't know if I'm okay now, but
yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. Sorry.
I think we figured it out. Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting, and but all that said, it's July 22nd. We're a month and a week away from the real game starting. A month away from week 0. I'm here for all the shots. Just keep bringing all the shots. Hopefully somebody says something reckless tomorrow at Big Ten or ACC as well because I enjoy it. Tulane picks up Jake Retzlaff. We talked a little bit about him leaving BYU. Where would he go? What would happen? Southeast here. Cole, I'll toss it to you. Any chance he could start for them this year?
I would be very shocked if he doesn't start for them this year. Like, now, maybe not week 1, but by the time that you get into regular conference play, why not? I mean, when I look at Tulane, they have an opportunity to be the favorites to win the group of 5. Now, again, I'm not saying that Memphis isn't going to be good or that UNLV is not going to have some talent or you're not going to have Boise State, who is the favorite once again to go back to the college football playoff. Yeah, there's going to be some competition, and maybe in a Sunbelt team like a James Madison, because you have a Bob Chesney getting Matt Sluka, maybe that ends up benefiting you. But keep in mind that you're going to watch this Tulane team have multiple opportunities to prove it is the best group of 5 roster. They play Northwestern week 1. They also face off against Duke. They have to travel to Oxford, Mississippi. And that's before they have games against East Carolina, Army, at UTSA, at Memphis, FAU, Charlotte, I think is going to be drastically improved. So their schedule is going to allow them to maybe finish 10-2, but win the division. If there's not an undefeated team, you may have upgraded at the most important spot with quarterback. And going into the year, remember, this was a team that thought they were going to have TJ Finley as their starter. He was dealing with a bunch of things off campus, so he no longer is in the running. And you don't really have a great direction to go in. You have the MAC freshman of the year. You have former Northwestern and Iowa star Brendan Sullivan. And then the next guy afterwards. I look at what you have in Jake Retzlaff coming on in to be a game manager with a very solid rushing attack, with a very good offensive line, with a defense that was able to back order in some former Power 4 opponents. And I respect John Summerall. I think that he is the most underappreciated coach currently in college football. I think this is his last year, probably program where he is not going to be at a Power 4 level. there's an opportunity for him, and I think for this Tulane team to be the most sufficient roster at the G5 level to where they're punching their ticket to the college football playoff, largely due to the fact of what they brought in at quarterback.
Tom?
The interesting thing, I just love seeing the matchups as they kind of unfold, is that you'll get maybe Mensa versus Retzlaff on September 13th.
Yeah.
Duke visits Tulane. Here's the thing. It's July 22nd. Retzlaff has next to no time to learn the playbook. He is literally going to get thrown into the fire. Now, obviously, competing at the 12 level, I think it's safe to argue that that was a higher level of competition. It's his last year of eligibility unless he applies for something and he's able to get an additional year. I'm curious to see if that ultimately plays out. But like, if he doesn't, and this is it, it's going to be a real struggle for him to get adapt quickly to a brand new playbook, brand new situation. And let's not forget, like, this is still a young person dealing with a situation that was incredibly complicated, complex, public, and ugly. So we've talked about the legal side of this, and like, whatever plays out on that side will play out on that side. Where is he at from the neck up? How is he able to compartmentalize after all the things he just dealt with at BYU? Is he really able to go to New Orleans and focus? Or is it like, hey, I got one last year. I'm going to go absolutely crazy and see if I can try and make a little bit more of NFL stock for myself. I don't know what I would say his NFL stock really looks like at this point in time. What it looked like a handful of months ago, probably certainly better. And there's going to be questions about his character and his past. If he goes to Tulane and he balls out, he could change some opinions. But man, I do not envy a kid coming in what, the second to last week of July, a couple weeks before camp, brand new set of teammates that you got to win over. Does he become somebody that's a leader on offense very, very quickly? Do they accept him? Does he even win the job? I mean, there's way too many questions. I hope the best for him, but at least like Tulane's got an interesting schedule, at least what they have in conference. And then I think the matchup of Mensa versus Retzlaff, if we get it, Duke versus Tulane, at least will be interesting TV there in September.
I mean, he's an older kid, right? He's 22 years old. Yeah. It's not like he's a freshman having to deal with this. And I've seen some pretty good jokes on social media about, you know, going from one city to another, but going from BYU to New Orleans has to be the wildest culture shock, like, change of any transfer that I could ever remember. Like, I'm sure there's been other ones. I don't know, man. Maybe a kid going, well, Liberty to Boulder, but like Boulder's not known for like craziness like New Orleans. So I don't know, man. Like, it's got to be the craziest thing to have somebody go from BYU to New Orleans, Louisiana.
I'll tell you what, the people down in the Bayou will not care what happens on a Saturday night after 2 a.m. I can promise you that much compared to what you got out in Provo, Utah, for sure.
Give me real quick, we'll move on from this. Give me a win total for Tulane. Let's assume he starts at least 9 games.
Northwestern, South Alabama, Duke, at Ole Miss, September 20th. That should be interesting. At Tulsa, hosting East Carolina, hosting Army, at UTSA, at Memphis, hosting Florida Atlantic, at Temple, hosting Charlotte. I could see like 8-4, like just under that, but like 9's not out of the possibility.
You know what? Screw it. Give me 10-2. Give me 10-2.
Jake just walks in and it's Gucci.
You know what? We're gonna because B1G was his nickname there. I'll figure out something next week for him. But you know what? The pride of some part of California is gonna head on down to the Bayou of New Orleans, and they're going an upset win over Northwestern week 1. They're going to beat South Alabama. They're going to go on an epic run, and they're going to punch their ticket to the AAC. By the way, the American, not the AAC anymore, just the American Conference. Yeah, we can throw that. The AC Championship. Yeah, the AC Championship, and they're going to go ahead and win the conference, and they're going to go to the college football playoff because Jake Retzlaff is your starting quarterback. Pride of
where's he from? Right outside of Anaheim, Corona, California, right?
Corona, California. Yeah, the Corona kid. The kid is going to put that voodoo magic down in the green wave and roll his path all the way to a college football playoff appearance.
Yeah, I'll go 10-2 as well, or 11-2. They'll win the championship if he plays in that. I put Ole Miss. I'm going to stall real quick until Tom gets back because I want to hear his take on this first. But I put I put the Ole Miss Tulane game on my top 50 games of the 2025 season, as I've been doing a countdown every day. Retzlaff wasn't there when I made this list.
Right.
And then even some of the BYU games, I made the list before he got, dismissed or transferred or whatever. So, but that game has a little bit more excitement now. I don't know they can go into Ole Miss and win, but I didn't think Kentucky could win last year either. So stranger things, I suppose, have happened. On to the Big Ten with, who do we have here? Oh, Sharon Moore, Tony Petitti, the NCAA, all of these shenanigans. The conference commissioner, Tony Petitti, comes out and writes a letter to the NCAA saying, like, hey, cut it out on the Michigan punishment. Like, it's done. It's over. I'm actually a huge fan of this. I know people want like blood from, Michigan, and they want titles stripped, and I understand all that. The time to do this passed. Like, none of that's going to happen anyway. It's time we stopped listening to the NCAA. I don't know why they're still a thing right now. You've got the CSC, the College Sports Commission, which is the one over all these NIL payments and rare, and can collectives donate this, that, the other. Yeah, I'm for this. You may hate Michigan. You may want to see a title stripped, whatever. No, I'm a bigger hater of the NCAA than I am of Michigan. And I really don't hate that many programs unless they're like one of my team's direct rivals. I don't care about Michigan enough either way. But I'm a big fan of this. Tony Petitti, backing his coach, backing his conference member. Yeah, I don't know that this changes much, but I'm a fan of telling the NCAA to go shove it.
I don't know, Tom.
Tom, you might be on mute.
There we go. Oh, I saw his face. Let's see. Okay. I'll go fast on this one because if I don't have much of a take, and we'll wait for Tom to back in. Is anyone going to care out in Ann Arbor? Like that's the thing that I really wonder about. You can strip the title just like you can strip Brian Kelly of being the all-time winningest coach for Notre Dame. People know Brian Kelly as the all-time winningest coach for Notre Dame. People in Ann Arbor are not going to second fiddle say, dang it, we didn't win the national championship of 2023. It's not going to happen. It just isn't. There'll be people who are absolutely going to be bought in because if they saw the on-field results, and they're never going to have that taken with them. It's like when USC fans say, Reggie Bush got his Heisman stripped. He still was the Heisman Trophy winner that year because if he is, like the fans that truly buy into blue, the ones that buy into their school, they're never going to care about what is said in a letter, regardless of what were the actual details, because if they saw a national championship won by their program, that's the people that you have to impress. That's people you have to care about, and they're never going to go ahead and take that back internally. The NCAA, which is a joke already, may say, we want you to take it back, but I'll tell you what, those that actually are bought into the program, those that are spending the money, those that are throwing in money to NIL, the booster clubs, and everything else, they're never, ever going to allow them to say, we are stripped of a national title. We won in 2023 fair and square in our eyes. So be it if you don't want to address it in the public eye.
We lost Tom right before you got to, right as you ended that. But I bet as soon as he comes in, he'll have some heat for us. I'm getting some comments that I didn't read the letter. What I've read just from a quick Google search is that he basically said that their 3-game suspension was already served, and that was good enough. That it was pretty sufficient. Was there a part of the? I mean, I'll be happy to read a comment. Was there a part of the letter that I missed, or what? But Tom, if you're back in, we'll let you roll. Nope, don't hear you.
God dang it! Last week it was me having a regular press conference. Now it's Tom that's not having to hear it. So this is terrible,
dude. It's just live television, or live. It's not even television, right? Like it's this is just what
now.
There you are.
Yep. And then he gets off when he gets on.
That's
right when he gets on and gets ready to go. It's the ultimate tease. I'm waiting for Tom's take on this one. I really am.
I am too. Being the Big Ten guy, we can clean this up when we edit it a little bit, so I'm not too worried about it. When we post the clip,
I'm not worried about it. It makes me laugh.
Wanna try from your phone and just roll with that. Let me get Tom a little bit different of a link. All right. Tom's coming back. Don't everybody leave just yet. Hey, while you're in here and we're killing time, hit the subscribe button and or go over to YouTube and make sure that you're subscribed there. If you're watching on Twitter, X, whatever you call it these days, it'll always be Twitter to me. But if you're watching over there, I'm like stripping a national championship from Michigan. They still won that thing. I grew up on Twitter. We're calling it that for the rest of my life anyway. But yeah, hit the subscribe button. Also, we have been posting that countdown. We've gotten some Michigan games. We've gotten some different things in there. So make sure you're subscribed to everybody else, everywhere else, and we'll roll there. I think we got Tom now.
This is as gorilla as this can possibly get. I don't know if this is working at all. You tell me.
You sound
you're
great,
good.
buddy.
Great. Where do we leave off?
Your thoughts on everything going on with Michigan?
Yeah.
I'm exhausted as everybody with my technical issues. Time, Michigan, Nick, Wall, wait. I'm going to eat point. No one cares at the end of the play.
Tom, your audio just a little getting like every other word. Cole, you too?
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Boys, I think this is my goodbye.
We'll roll with Cole and I can finish out the last two and we'll roll.
I love you all very much. I'm very sorry.
It's okay, Tom. It happens. Oh,
I had one of these things with just me and Cole. Look at that. I got it over there.
There we go.
All right. That was all the takes I had on that. So we'll get Cowherd on and we'll watch that. All right. That is our next segment. So we'll do that real quick. Colin Cowherd had a really weird take that, Cole, I want you to watch, and then we will talk about it. We'll do the wild card and we'll get out of here. Oh, you know what we talk about real quick, since we probably have a little bit more time without Tom, is my boy going back in studio with the ACC network. We'll talk about that at the end. There we go. But Cowherd's take, which I thought was weird, and then we'll talk about it.
Think about this. The best offensive player in college football is a Buckeye. The best defensive player, Caleb Downs, is a Buckeye. Their recruiting, once again, was through the roof. Their NIL money is through the roof. And Penn State was picked to win the Big Ten. I think Penn State's going to face Texas in the national championship. And I think this is one of those things, and it's going to be hard to stomach for a lot of people. The Big Ten is officially better than the SEC. It's not just that Ohio State won the Natty last year. It's that they humiliated Tennessee and dominated Texas. Texas scored 14 points. They'd scored over 14 points in 32 straight games in the SEC. They scored 14 points. The year before, Alabama played Michigan. When Michigan won the Natty, Alabama couldn't move the ball. They had barely had 100 yards passing. It looks a lot like it used to 8 years ago when a Georgia or an Bama would face a Big Ten team. And the Big Ten teams couldn't really generate consistent offense. The defenses, the athletes were just too good. Go look at Tennessee against Ohio State's defense. Go look at Texas against Ohio State's defense. Go look at Bama the year before against Michigan's defense. So, and I think there's a reason for it, and I never thought this was possible. But it should be noted, every national champion, every single one in the college football era, college football playoff era, every one has been ranked inside of the preseason top 6. And of the 6 preseason teams, highest ranked, 3 are Big Ten teams. So 3 of the top 6 ranked teams, and that tells you who's going to win the Natty. In 10 of 11 national championships, 10 of the last 11, the teams in the top 5, one of them has won the Natty. So the Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon are all in the top 6 this year. And that's where the national champions come from. So last year, Ohio State lost to 2 Big Ten teams. They rolled 2 SEC teams. It's the eye test. I said this 3 years ago. Something's changing, and what's changing is money. Big Ten schools are bigger. They have more graduates. It's easier to raise money for NIL. You add in Phil Knight and the Nike money. You add in USC and the LA economy money. The Big Ten cities, LA, New York with Rutgers, Chicago Northwestern, Minneapolis, DC, Seattle. That Big Ten money is Hollywood, tech, and financial centers. It's a lot of car dealerships in the SEC. And car dealerships are running on razor-thin margins. So right now, the top spenders in college football, according to the On3 poll, 4 of the top 7 are Big Ten, and that's not changing. That is not changing.
So an interesting take with this. Let me flip this back over to the right one. An interesting take here. First of all, when he said 10 of the last 11, you know who the 12th team was Florida State, because they started the year at number 12.
Yeah, you had to find a way to throw Florida State.
Yeah, always got to find a way to put them in and remind myself of the better days. But yeah, they started 12th. I think what's interesting about his take is, listen, I would love nothing more than a non-SEC team to win the national title, as you well know, right? I can get more jokes off that way. It's great, to slam on them. We've had 1 year of this 12-team playoff in which we just saw the number 8 seeded team get in and roll. Objectively, the SEC had a much tougher path. They also lost a star quarterback. I don't know that this is. I don't know that we have enough to base it on to say like, oh well, with this new 12-team playoff and then eventually a 16 or 14, whatever, that the Big Ten is just going to run things forever. Does the Big Ten have a great chance to win it all this year? Absolutely. Does that probably lay on Ohio State's shoulders? I mean, probably, unless Penn State finally puts it together, which is maybe their best chance ever. The idea that, though, money is different is probably the most interesting part of this. Acting like the SEC only has money because of car dealerships. I mean, first of all, that ignores Texas, who is probably doing things that no one else in the country can do from a money perspective right now in recruiting, both the portal and in school ranks. But the idea that that's the only means of money from the SEC. Now, by and large, I'll say, yeah, I think Notre Dame and Ohio State, like if in Michigan, yeah, they can probably pull more than an SEC program does. I think what he ignores is what you've talked about, right? I hate to give the SEC a lot of credit because that's not my shtick on this show, but the SEC absolutely beats themselves to death through the season. And then by the time we get to the playoffs, they're worn out. You've lost a quarterback. You've lost these guys. You run into a red hot Ohio State team that, has gelled at the right time, but we can argue, how deserving they would have been in any other format. So I don't know. Thoughts on Cowherd's take? I would love nothing more than the SEC to not win the title this year. I think I know he works for Fox, but this is a little biased, homerish to me.
I stopped listening when he said that Texas was dismantled by Ohio State, because that clearly shows you didn't watch the football game. And if you don't want to watch the football game, then don't talk about the football game. Don't talk about a sport that you know nothing about when you refuse to go ahead and actually sit down and watch the matchups in itself. Like, honestly, you tried to sell us last year on USC being right back in the title game. Spoil it. We got to this intentionally. As you're sitting inside of an LA Coliseum looking thing, the big sphere looking whatever you call it out in LA, thinking that people are going to have to owe Lincoln Riley an apology. No, we didn't. We didn't owe him an apology because if he found a way to crap the bed as he always does. Just like you constantly find a way for me to pick holes into your narrative about college football. You don't care about college football. You care about ratings. You made it abundantly clear that the only thing that you care about is ratings when it comes to this sport. Because if you remember that game, Texas was on the 2-yard line and could have punched. If they would have, that would have been a tied matchup against Ohio State, and they would have scored 21 points, would have sent that game into overtime, and we would have talked about this completely different. If Michigan was so great over Alabama in 2023, that game wouldn't have had to gone to overtime. It just would have ended in the regulation. And keep in mind, Cowherd loves to go ahead and pull this narrative out. Michigan had to come back against Alabama in that game. Alabama in the fourth quarter was leading and nearly punched their ticket to another national championship. Nick Saban, and he would have gone out with the swan song. But you don't want to throw that narrative in. No, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep out all of the uninformed people, the casuals of college football, to make sure that you sound smarter than everybody else out there. Yeah, certainly Chicago and New York City and Minneapolis have money that they absolutely could throw into their college football programs. You also fail to mention those are public sports towns. Those are pro sport team towns. Chicago doesn't care at all about Northwestern. Never have when they were in the Big Ten before the Pac-12 decided to disband. New York has never cared about Rutgers football. Minneapolis has never cared about Minnesota football. And your own town of Los Angeles cares about one team in their city, a team that they have spent ridiculous amounts of money to go ahead and try to bring back to relevancy. And it doesn't matter if they have Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian or Clay Helton or Lincoln Riley. They've yet to be able to duplicate the success that they found under Carroll. So we talk about you wanting to say that the Big Ten is making the difference. Yeah, they can spend the money if they want to, but guess what? Those programs don't want to. Notre Dame wants to, Oregon wants to, Ohio State wants to, Michigan wants to, and you can probably throw Penn State in that conversation. You want to know who wants to spend money? Texas Tech wants to spend money. You want to know who else wants to spend money? Florida wants to spend money. You know who else wants to spend money? Texas A&M, Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss for that matter, to spend money. And they do a good job of targeting the right type of talent in the middle of the order and developing said talent. So sure, we can say that the Big Ten has an opportunity to win a national title this year, and it's not going to be shocking. But please, Cowherd, do me a favor if you go ahead and talk smack about the changing of the tides. Remember that it took over a decade for the SEC to lose its dominance? How about have a decade of dominance for the Big Ten before we start to say this is the end of an era? An era actually takes a little bit of time to. It's why I give a little bit more respect to those rosters that have proven time and time again they can be sustainable.
Yeah, again, I'd love nothing more for him to be right. I just think it's a little premature, man. Like, I don't even mind saying that I think the Big Ten's best is probably in a better position right now to win championships because of the schedule that they play. They're not good. They're like, I could ask you right now, who's winning the SEC? I mean, we all think probably Texas, but like, there's like 6 teams that could win that thing. Right? Like, it's not even, and that's maybe be generous. You could maybe even argue for a couple more. I think that I don't know, man. You're right, though. Like, it is clickbait. It is hot takes. That's what he's doing.
No, it shows that you don't watch the game. It shows that you don't care about the sport. It shows that you're only focused in on the ratings. And again, the thing that makes college football so beautiful and completely different than the NFL, and I want to keep it this way forever, is that college football fans are not idiots. They want to see their teams actually provide results on the field. They want the pageantry. They want the ambiance on a Saturday afternoon. And they want to show the world why this sport is built differently. You go to Willie B on a Saturday night against Old Dominion. It's as ravenous as an atmosphere as when LSU comes to town on an 11 a.m. kick. In the cities of the pros, if the pro teams don't have a good fan base, like the Los Angeles Chargers or like the Houston Texans at times, they're overrun by the opposing team. It's just the bottom line. You care about the ratings and you care about the product that is going to bring you the most recognition. You don't care about the actual sport and you don't care about the progress of the sport. So sorry, Cowherd. If you want to go ahead and have me on, we can have a discussion, but I'm going to whoop your ass when it comes to college football. I do every single time that you bring up your name to begin with.
Over under, USC is the 5th most important team in LA.
I
mean, it's a Lakers town. 1,
yeah.
2. Are both NFL teams ahead?
No. The question that I would have is, are the Clippers ahead at this point? That's where I would go when it comes to the next. I think the Chargers are at the bottom. The Angels are at the bottom. Hockey out there. The Ducks at one point were probably really prominent. The Kings have won a Stanley Cup in the last 2 decades. So a little bit. I would say probably number 4, number 5 is USC. Yeah. I still would. The Dodgers, the Rams, and the Lakers absolutely are ahead of them. The next one is the Clippers. They're right there in that vicinity, I think.
Yeah. All right. You've got the wild card this week. Can you do it with one person? I mean, I mean, we can figure it out. Let's roll.
Yeah, I can do it. This is a very simple conversation. I'm going to give you the opportunity to draft a quarterback, a running back, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end, and a defense and head coach. Here's the rule. You can't have more than 2 per conference. So it's going to show your knowledge going into this season. I will go against you. Once you pick that one, here's the other counteractive. Once you pick the quarterback, the running back, and the head coach, the opposing guy can't have that same conference. So let's say you pick an ACC quarterback. I can't pick an ACC quarterback. That's just the rule. And you can go in any order you want. And we'll go snake draft.
Am I going first on this?
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
So I'm between, but I can go any position, or I have to start
Any
with
position.
quarterback. Okay.
So remember, it's 1 quarterback, 2 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a defense, and a head coach.
Let me pull my notepad up so that I can be writing as I go.
Cool.
All right, I'm between 2 quarterbacks. Neither from the Power 2, because I want to use other positions there. Also, I really like and I know you like two quarterbacks. I do think that I'm going to pick one and you're going to take the other. So I'm going to go with Cade. I was between two, but I'll go with Klubnik at quarterback. So what is the rule? I take Cade. I cannot
take an ACC quarterback.
Okay. All right.
Now you can only take one more ACC player for the rest of your draft.
Okay. I'll go with Cade.
Notre Dame, is that going to count for a conference, or are we just going to?
Let's just you want to put them in the Big Ten?
Fine, that's fair.
Or the ACC is fine. Whichever is fine.
Okay, so I'll do ACC, and I'll go back to back with running backs. I'm going to go Jeremiah Love. I think he's the best running back in college football this year. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring, and go with Nick Singleton. I think that when you just have those two as a combination, I don't even have to worry about the quarterback position. Like, I'm so loaded just with those two guys toting the rock. I could have a G5 quarterback if I really wanted to, and I'd make it work.
I go Jeremiah Smith.
Okay.
Best player in college football, and I will take a head coach of. We're doing a head coach, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to go head coach just yet. I will go. So Jeremiah Smith. I will go with Jaden Baugh, running back out of Florida.
Ooh, I almost went that pathway. Okay.
I'm trying to like save conference stuff, but now I'm only one more ACC, one more Big Ten, one more big SEC, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will go wide receiver 1, Ryan Williams. Just think that he is probably the most complete wide receiver in the SEC, and in an offense with Ryan Grubb to have a quarterback that reminds you a lot of the intangibles that you saw at times with Michael Penix Jr. last year. And I will go tight end. I think is probably the most underrated tight end going into this year. Give me Tanner Koizil at the University of Houston. I like what he was going to provide for Wisconsin. He goes on down and he's going to work with Slade Nagel, who was the tight ends coach when he was at LSU. So I think that there could be a lot of continuity on trusting the tight end position this year. So I'm going to go with Slade Nagel. I'm going to go with Tanner Koizil for Houston.
Can I pick somebody off the same team I've done, or is that okay?
It can't be, but it can't be. So if it's like a wide receiver, you already got your Big Ten wide receiver. So now you gotta go either SEC or ACC kind of feel.
Okay. I'm gonna take Miami's offensive line.
Okay.
I think I hate to do this with the rivals and what kind of confidence I have with Florida State coming up this year, but I think they built that the right way. I think they have a top 5 pick in their left tackle. Like, I think they're going to be a really good offensive line again this year, and I really like them behind or ball behind them. So I just took. I'm out of ACC now, which is fine. I will take. I'll go with a. I'll go with
challenging.
Yeah, I'll go with Notre Dame's defense. Oh no, I'm out of the ACC. I'll go with Kirby. I'll just take Kirby Smart. I'll throw my coach up. I maybe could have gotten more creative, but I'll take him as coach. It's hard to argue that result.
I'm gonna knock out the Big 12 early. I didn't think that this was gonna happen this way. Give me Jordan Tyson as my wide receiver number 2. I think that's just gonna be really, really easy. So now I can't use any more Big 12 teams. I can still use an ACC and I can still use Big 10. I will go at this point and just lock up my head coach. And you know what? He gets a bad rep, but he wins. He wins. And I'm tired of people saying that he was born on third base when he won a title. Give me Ryan Day as my head coach. So there we go. That's my Big 10.
I like Ryan Day as a head coach. So what do I have left? I have another wide receiver somewhere.
You have a wide receiver that you can't use from the Big 10. You have 2 wide receivers still. So you just can't use a Big 10 wide receiver. And you can't use any ACC guys.
I will take. Where am I at on? Okay, I've already used my SEC.
You have one SEC. You still have another one if you want to use it.
Well, I've used Jaden Ball and Kirby.
Oh, never mind. You are out of SEC.
So did you count coach in?
Yeah.
I'll take Max Clare at tight end, Ohio State. I think that's my second Big Ten, so I'm done there. Max Clare, and then on defense, let's think of a defense that we really like. I think I have a defense and a wide receiver too, and then I'm done.
Running back still. One more running back.
One more running back. Okay. I will go defensively, and I need to go ACC or Big 12 here. Yeah, I'll take Clemson's defense at this point. I think that's of those two conferences, like what I would pigeonhole myself into, I'll take Clemson's defense there.
Damn it.
So Max Clare and Clemson.
Okay. I still have one SEC. I will take Alabama's defense. I think that it is going to be the most improved unit and probably the most complete unit in college football this year. And then at quarterback, I still have. Hold on, let's see. I don't have any more Big 12. I still have Big 10. I still have ACC. I can't take Cade. But I can take a guy that I'm a lot higher on, I think, most. Do I risk it? Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'll just do it because then I still would have an ACC and I'd be good. I'm going to take Darian Mensah. If I'm going to throw him in my top 10 as a star quarterback in the making, I think that he can have a great breakout year. Let me just take him. And you know what? We'll see that matchup and we'll say, hey, who's the best ACC quarterback going into this season?
I think that the only thing I have left is wide receiver, right? Oh, no, wide receiver 2 and running back 2.
Yep.
I think they both have to come from the Big 12 too, just for what it's worth. I'll take Caleb Douglas out of Texas Tech as my wide receiver 2. Man, I'll tell you.
Who's your running back? There is a right answer, I think.
Oh, is the Oklahoma State kid still there?
No, Ollie Gordon's gone.
Okay. All right.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you 2 hints of where you could probably look. You can look at a team that I'm very high on their quarterback, and you can look at a team that has a long-haired quarterback.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'll go Baylor. I'll go Bryson Washington.
There we go. That's the answer I was waiting for.
I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know. I obviously would have taken Arizona State last year.
I would take Scabby with the first pick of this point.
He'd have been way up higher on the list. But yeah, I'll go Washington or Bryson. Yeah.
All right. The only other pick that I was going to say was Dylan Edwards for Kansas State. That was the other name that I thought maybe you were going to go get a little bit more interested in with the long-haired quarterback.
Who was your quarterback again?
I have Mensah.
Okay. So I like my quarterback battle there. I like Mensah a lot, but I really like Cade. I like Cade and Jeremiah. I mean, every play is going to be thrown up to him. Yeah. I mean, I like both teams. I mean, we just basically picked the best.
Go through your team real fast. That way we can clip this properly and people can vote.
Yeah. Cade at QB, Jaden Baugh at running back, Jeremiah Smith, Max Clare at tight end, Kirby Smart's my head coach, Clemson's my defense. I just picked up Bryson Washington, and at tight end, who did we have? No, our other wide receiver was Caleb Douglas.
Okay. I had Darian Mensah at quarterback. I had Jeremiah Love and Nick Singleton as my 2 running backs. My 2 wide receivers were Jordan Tyson and Ryan Williams. I had Tanner Koizil as my tight end. Head coach was Ryan Day, and my defense was Alabama's. Oh, offensive line, you had Miami. I didn't pick an offensive line. That was the other one that I forgot about. Crap, I don't even know where I go with offensive line at this point. I don't know. What can I do?
What conference left?
That's what I'm wondering. Which conference do I have left? I have 2 SEC. I have 2 ACC. I have 2 Big 12 with my tight end and my wide receiver. I have 2 Big 10. I guess I forgot one because of crap. Do I go with like a G5 offensive line at this point?
No, because I just pick whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, screw it. I'm going to take Texas A&M as my offensive line. There we go. Problem solved. And that's weird because if I said it. I have this more planned out, and I was going to just keep it a list for you guys to build your run, and then Tom decided to go ahead and have his thing decided to put on him.
Yeah, I'll make an Instagram graphic, and and we'll have people vote on it.
Well,
everywhere.
people vote because I promise you're gonna win. You're gonna win because you have Kate Klubnik and I have
Cade
Derek
and Jeremiah really are going to take over there.
I Mensa as my starting quarterback, and they go, "What the hell is wrong with him?"
Who is that? Also,
Who
all
is
the
it?
Miami trolls that follow me will be like, "Oh, he picked our offense," and the Florida trolls that follow me. Yeah, like I didn't really think about like the voting aspect, but yeah, the that actually hate me will like the picks. So
You're gonna win this one probably. I was so much more focused on other things.
all right, that's it. The power two. It literally was just the power
Quite
two
literally.
because Tom's power went out. But good pun there. We'll be back next Wednesday at noon, actually on our scheduled time, and hopefully no technical difficulties. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Have a bunch of content from ACC kickoff tomorrow. If anybody's stupid, and if they don't, I'll just clickbait it and make it sound like they did. So whatever it takes. We're 32 days away from the season. Can't wait. Cole, thanks for hanging out, man.
Anytime, bud.